Thursday, February 20th, 2025. I'm Eben Brown. Did China's surprise AI company share user data with TikTok? And was that data accessed by China's Communist Party?
South Korea is saying we have found evidence of user information being shared despite the assurances of DeepSeek. Is just another thing that DeepSeek may have been not honest about, including how much it cost to actually develop in the first place.
This is the Fox News Rundown Evening Edition. China's DeepSeek AI popped up out of nowhere a couple of weeks ago. It stunned not just the world of tech innovators, but the people hoping to make fortunes in financing artificial intelligence. DeepSeek's team demonstrated an AI that could outperform the latest offerings from OpenAI, the ChatGPT people, using less computing power and at a fraction of the cost, or so they claimed. And while DeepSeek promised users they would protect their work and information, a South Korea investigation finds that wasn't the case at all. DeepSeek was funneling user data to ByteDance, the controversial parent company of TikTok, which is accused of providing user data to China's communist rulers while taking the orders of the Communist Party in how to manipulate the content it shows users, especially young users.
I think there have been concerns about DeepSeek since its inception in terms of its honesty and transparency, both as it relates to the costs and then what happens to the user data that it gains by people having access to this app.
Eric Eggers is with the Government Accountability Institute.
Almost from the beginning, a number of countries raised privacy concerns. Italy was actually the first one. They banned DeepSeek after authorities demanded details about the practices, and they called their security safeguards insufficient. And South Korea and the United States, as well as Australia, soon followed up with very real privacy concerns. Some people thought that actually DeepSeek, because of the Chinese origins, were actually ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok's end around, because remember, this all occurred, DeepSeek's deployment occurred in the context of this pending ban of TikTok in the United States. And so many people saw, given they have this weird relationship, is DeepSeek ByteDance's way of getting around a potential TikTok ban and still having access to U.S. user data or user data around the globe. And there's other countries, including India, that have banned TikTok for exactly the same concerns about user data and ended up in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. So I think that is essentially the story. And so South Korea is today saying we have found evidence of user information being shared despite the assurances of DeepSeek, is just another thing that DeepSeek may have been not honest about, including how much it cost to actually develop in the first place.
When we say not honest, I mean, there's, I think in an altruistic world, you're either lying or telling the truth. But I think in reality, especially when it comes to these endeavors, there's different levels of being honest and being forthcoming. So how exactly dishonest or how unforthcoming has DeepSeek been, do you think, after learning all about this stuff? I mean, is this a little oopsie or a major, discovery of some, bad acting?
Well, I think one way in which DeepSeek's been dishonest, it's been over $1 billion worth of dishonest. Because remember, when they first came out with DeepSeek, they said it only cost $6 million to develop and train. And subsequent analysis suggests that that's off by a number of degrees. The actual costs are anywhere from 1.3 to 1.6 billion, according to different analysis. So they lied about how much it cost them to develop it. And by the way, that lie, not just in terms of how much it cost them, that cost the U.S. market $1 trillion in one day in terms of the value that came off of certain tech stocks. So that was a very significant thing that they withheld from the global markets. And now the fact that they have been allegedly dishonest about sharing data, well, there's informed consent. And so now if they've been dishonest about what happens with that data, then I think that you'll see a number of other countries follow South Korea and Italy's suit in terms of taking steps to maybe keep their citizens from having access to this app.
I think in the U.S. there hasn't been a lot of use of the DeepSeek AI, not the way people are using things like ChatGPT or even Grok. And I think I still am sort of the mindset that most Americans, their use of AI is pretty limited still because they're using it to make funny photographs and post them as memes and whatnot, as opposed to using it for real, heavy computing that'll be productive in high science and whatnot. So I guess the concern is if there is a company that is working on something that is let's call it, even if it's not top secret or classified, but it's confidential for a private matter, for private industry. It's something that they're working on. It's something that they're trying to keep secret before they bring it to market, and they're using AI to develop it, and they're using DeepSeek. They're probably at risk.
Well, remember, DeepSeek was, when it first came out, at the top of the U.S. downloads for a couple days. And I think subsequently its popularity has fallen off. But to your larger point, if Americans were concerned about China having access to the data, TikTok would not be as popular as it is. So, yeah, the concern is less from an individual standpoint and more from, our companies using this at the highest end. But remember, Eben, this is a brand new technology, relatively speaking. And, there's always a lag between when a technology is introduced to society and when governments and just regular people catch up to how it should be regulated and governed in terms of its use. And so we're still very much in the infancy of that conversation about AI. And that's where the fact that there are so many unknowns. Does China have access to it? Are they being honest? The fact that there's been dishonesty about some of those answers, I think, is people are right to raise very real concerns, as South Korea has done.
Our guest is Eric Eggers of the Government Accountability Institute, and we are talking about the South Korean investigation revealing that China's DeepSeek AI has been sending user data and probably other things to TikTok parent company ByteDance, known to be manipulated by the Chinese Communist Party. On the Fox News Rundown Evening Edition, please like, subscribe, and share. We will have more straight ahead.
This episode is brought to you by Abercrombie. There's nothing better than the perfect jean and going out top combo, or an outfit that perfectly matches your plans. Abercrombie's relaxed jean goes with every occasion. Date nights with something lace, or daytime with a cozy sweater. And their barrel jean will surprise you. It's the trend that will become a staple in your wardrobe. Abercrombie denim comes in tons of rises, fits, and washes. Find your perfect pair online or in store.
We are still in a very weird space with TikTok with regard to what President Trump would like to see happen. There was a time he was very supportive of an outright ban. That sort of changed when he realized the reach of TikTok in terms of younger Americans, and I mean younger voters. His son Barron is rumored to have kind of shown him the power of this type of social media. And we're in a phase right now where we may see China agree to sell TikTok to a U.S.-based operator. I kind of liken that to how we don't allow radio and television to be owned outright by foreign entities. And that's a very, very, very old law because we didn't want Russia or China or any other nefarious actors to be able to broadcast, to the American public. What happens with regard to an AI company, because the internet doesn't have borders really much. We've been using internationally based apps for a long time. Most of the time, again, I tend to think that it's silly little stuff that's kind of time wasters, like an app that makes your face have a filter that looks like you're old. And everyone was using that app for a while. Then we were told, don't use that app because it's Russian and it's been compromising your data. Then everyone stopped using the app. But, again, here is an app it's an AI-based app. It's an app for an AI. And as you mentioned, it was quite popular for a few days there. But what really can, and that you mentioned, of course, that government takes a while to kind of get up to speed on how to regulate that. But we're sort of in this process of trying to figure this out. We have this pending ban with TikTok, maybe. So what do we have to do? I mean, this is something that a lot of experts have been chiming in. It's hard to just shut these things off.
Well, let's be very clear that the problem with TikTok is not just that individuals have their data taken because they're posting cat videos or whatever. Right. TikTok's algorithm is a protected Chinese state secret, and China won't disclose it because it is, in our opinion, in the research we've done here at the Government Accountability Institute, part of an ongoing effort to destabilize American society as part of what we like to call, and what they call actually in their own words, disintegrated warfare. Yeah. So this is a very real thing that China takes quite seriously.
It's an influence campaign.
Yeah. And while it may have been useful for the Donald Trump campaign, that doesn't mean that China's not using it for their purposes as well.
Right.
And so to your point about the reason why we don't allow foreign governments and foreign entities to own some of the broadcast networks, because we don't want Americans to be receiving hook, line, and sinker foreign propaganda. In the limited examples that have been done on DeepSeek, that's actually exactly what people have gotten. There's been famous videos online of people asking DeepSeek to give me details about Tiananmen Square. And not only does the DeepSeek chatbot not provide actual details of what happened in Tiananmen Square, it then pivots to parrot Chinese propaganda in terms of what the Chinese Communist Party does stand for and espouses in terms of fairness and cultural values. So it has become another end around to a Chinese state-owned broadcaster, if you like. And I think that's one reason why people are very rightly concerned. If DeepSeek is broadcasting Chinese propaganda and it is sharing information with a parent company that is in business with the Chinese government to, as a state secret, the algorithm it uses to become so popular, that's a real problem.
So again, it turns into, what do we do from a government perspective? But there's also the individual perspective. And, there's so many parents, I think, just give their kids phones with TikTok, or they let them use TikTok, and they're not, enforcing any kind of parental controls, or just adults. I mean, I don't want to even just calling just that kids are using these types of apps. Adults are using them too. And it could be anything from, again, having fun with the app to using it for a business purpose, for a research purpose. How do we govern ourselves if government is going to take forever to get their butt in gear?
Well, I want to be very clear, Eben. I actually had to pick up my daughter before recording this interview, and right now she's reading a book. So she's in the other rooms.
There you go.
There's no TikTok usage in my household.
Good.
But no, and this gets back to like the larger debate we're having as it relates to RFK Jr. and the Make America Healthy thing. And, what's the border between personal freedom and responsible behavior? And I think that you mentioned children. Parents want to be free to raise their children in a way in which they see fit. But we also have rules. You can't give your kid heroin or, scotch. So
right.
I think, and this is where the influence that companies like TikTok may be attempting to actively gain. They've been very involved in who they're hiring as lobbyists and the conversations those lobbyists are having with the people making those rules. It's an incredibly important conversation we should be having about how to govern new technology. And TikTok is in these social media apps and these algorithms. But I think TikTok is potentially the most dangerous just because of the connection to a foreign threat, our largest geopolitical rival. And the fact that they're so heavily invested in trying to influence that conversation tells you how seriously they're taking it, and therefore how seriously we should take it.
All right. Eric Eggers of the Government Accountability Institute. Thank you so much for being with us on the Fox News Rundown Evening Edition.
Eben, my pleasure.